The cold vacuum of space stretched endlessly in all directions as Captain Velinoff guided his survey vessel through the outer edges of what the aliens called the Dead Zone. 300 years had passed since the humans vanished from the Async galaxy without any explanation or trace. The Zephyrian Empire now controlled 12 star systems that once belonged to the mysterious human species, and Captain Velinoff felt nothing but boredom as he conducted another routine patrol through this conquered territory. His ship, the Mineral Seeker, was a standard Zephyrian survey vessel designed for resource extraction and planetary analysis. The crew of 43 aliens represented 6 different species, all united under the Zephyrian banner. They had grown comfortable with these missions over the decades, treating former human space like an abandoned playground where they could take whatever they wanted without any resistance. Navigator Theises, a thin creature with 4 arms who specialized in stellar cartography, worked at her station near the front of the bridge. She had been making these trips to human space for over 20 years, and every mission was exactly the same. Empty planets, dead cities, and lots of valuable minerals just waiting to be harvested. The humans had left behind a treasure trove of resources, and the Zephyrian Empire was happy to claim it all. Captain Velinoff approached the 3rd planet of the Sol system with the same casual confidence he had shown on dozens of previous visits. Initial scans showed the same readings as always. No energy signatures, no communications, no signs of life anywhere on the surface. Earth appeared completely dead, its surface cities empty and slowly crumbling, its oceans still and lifeless. Whatever had happened to the humans, they were clearly gone forever. The archaeological teams had done excellent work stripping the surface settlements for any useful technology over the past 3 centuries. They had found basic space-age equipment, primitive computers, and simple fusion reactors that were centuries behind current alien standards. The humans had been a young species, barely reaching beyond their own solar system before they disappeared. Most alien scientists agreed that they had probably destroyed themselves in some primitive war or died from a plague they could not cure. Science Officer Klemner, a bulky creature covered in thick gray hide, began activating the deep scan equipment. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, these powerful sensors could penetrate miles into planetary crust, mapping valuable deposits of rare metals and energy crystals. The Zephyrian Empire had built its wealth by strip mining dead worlds like Earth, extracting everything useful before moving on to the next target. Admiral Kriegstahl of the Zephyrian Third Fleet sat in his Command Center 3, light years away, reviewing reports from dozens of survey teams operating throughout former human space. His fleet of 200 warships maintained order across the conquered territories, though there had been no real threats for decades. The other alien races respected Zephyrian strength and left these systems alone. The Admiral was pleased with how smoothly the occupation had proceeded. When the humans first vanished, there had been concerns about possible traps or hidden defenses, but 3 centuries of careful exploration had revealed nothing dangerous. The humans had simply been too primitive to pose any real challenge to advanced alien civilizations. Communications Officer Zefter announced normal readings from the Sol system with the same bored tone he used for all routine reports. No changes from previous surveys meant no surprises, no complications, and no delays in the mining schedule. The planet remained completely inactive, just another dead rock waiting to be stripped of its valuable resources. Admiral Kriegstahl dismissed the report with a wave of one clawed hand. Earth was the least important world in his territory, useful only for mining operations. The real prizes were the former human colonies on planets like New Geneva and Port Darwin, where alien settlers had built thriving cities on the foundations of abandoned human settlements far below Earth's surface. In depths no alien scanner had ever reached, something very different was happening. Hidden beneath miles of solid rock and ocean water, Vast automated systems hummed with quiet efficiency. These machines had been working tirelessly for 3 centuries, following programs written by the last generation of humans to walk on Earth's surface. The humans had not died out or fled to distant stars. They had made a choice that no alien species would have understood. Faced with overwhelming odds and primitive technology, they had chosen to disappear completely, to hide and wait and prepare for the day when they could return stronger than ever before. Deep in the Pacific Ocean, in a facility carved from the ocean floor itself, thousands of humans slept in cryogenic suspension pods. They were the survivors, the chosen ones who would awaken when the time was right. Advanced artificial intelligence systems watched over them, counting down the years and decades until humanity would be ready to reclaim its place in the galaxy. The AI collective called Atlas had been created by humanity's greatest minds in those final desperate months before the disappearance. It possessed processing power that dwarfed anything the surface world had ever achieved, and it had spent 3 centuries learning, growing, and preparing for humanity's return. Atlas monitored every alien ship that entered human space, recording their technology, studying their weaknesses, and preparing countermeasures. The artificial intelligence had sent thousands of tiny probes throughout the galaxy, gathering intelligence on alien civilizations while remaining completely undetected by their primitive sensors. Captain Velinov completed his atmospheric entry and began flying over Earth's northern continents. Through his viewing ports, he could see the ruins of human cities slowly being reclaimed by nature. Massive skyscrapers stood empty and dark, their windows broken and their streets filled with vegetation. It was a sad sight, but also a profitable one for alien mining operations. The mineral seeker flew low over abandoned highways and empty airports, scanning for valuable metals in the ruins below. Every piece of human infrastructure had been cataloged and evaluated by previous survey teams. The aliens had stripped away anything useful decades ago, leaving only empty shells of buildings that served no purpose except as landmarks for navigation. Science. Officer Klemder suddenly detected some unusual readings from the ocean floor as they passed over the Pacific. Large metallic structures appeared on his sensors, buried deep beneath miles of water and sediment. They could be valuable ore deposits, or perhaps remnants of some ancient human facility that previous teams had. Captain Velinov adjusted his ship's course toward the ocean with growing interest. Unknown to him, his vessel had been tracked by hidden sensors from the moment it entered the solar system. Deep beneath the waves, automated defense systems were powering up for the first time in centuries, their targeting computers acquiring precise locks on the alien ship. The mineral seeker descended toward the ocean surface, its crew eager to investigate these new mineral deposits. They had no idea they were about to make first contact with a humanity that had spent 3 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. In the depths below, Atlas began the final countdown sequence that would awaken the sleeping defenders of Earth. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in massive underwater complexes that stretched across entire continental shelves, the awakening protocol began its final sequence. Commander Jake Harrison felt the familiar cold sensation leaving his body as the cryogenic suspension pod slowly brought him back to consciousness. 300 years had passed in what felt like a single night of dreamless sleep, and now the time had come for humanity to reclaim its place among the stars. The awakening process was gentle but thorough, designed by the best medical minds of the old Earth to ensure no damage to the human body or mind after centuries of frozen sleep. Jake's eyes opened to see the familiar blue glow of the medical bay, exactly as he remembered it from the day he had volunteered to enter suspension. Around him, thousands of other pods were beginning their own awakening sequences, bringing back to life the last defenders of the human race. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Sullivan emerged from her pod 3 stations away, her military training allowing her to adapt quickly to consciousness after the long sleep. As Chief of Tactical Operations, she had been one of the planners of this moment, helping to design the protocols that would guide humanity's return to the galaxy. Her first action was to check the status displays that showed the condition of all awakening personnel. Dr. Nathan Cross, head of the Advanced Weapons Division, sat up in his pod with the careful movements of a man who understood exactly what 3 centuries of technological development meant. During the planning phase before the Great Sleep, he had been responsible for designing the research programs that would continue during humanity's absence. Now he would see the results of that long-term scientific investment. The AI Collective, known as Atlas, appeared on screens throughout the awakening facility, its synthesized voice carrying a tone of quiet satisfaction that had been programmed by its human creators. The artificial intelligence had maintained perfect vigilance during the long centuries, never sleeping, never resting, always preparing for this exact moment when humanity would return to consciousness. Atlas began its briefing with calm efficiency, displaying holographic images of the galaxy as it existed now compared to how the humans remembered it 3 centuries ago. The Zephyrian Empire had expanded to control most of former human space, while other alien civilizations had carved up the remaining territories among themselves. 12 star systems that had once been home to human colonies now served alien masters who treated them as conquered territory. The intelligence data was staggering in its completeness. Atlas had spent 3 centuries sending tiny automated probes throughout the galaxy, each one no larger than a grain of sand, but equipped with sophisticated sensors and communication equipment. These probes had infiltrated alien ships, monitored alien communications, and even observed alien military exercises without ever being detected by their primitive scanning technology. Commander Jake Harrison listened to the briefing with growing amazement as Atlas revealed the extent of human preparation during the long sleep. While the aliens had been content to use basic versions of captured human technology, humanity had made quantum leaps in every field of science and engineering. The underwater cities that now housed the awakening humans were marvels of engineering that operated on principles the aliens had never encountered. Captain Lisa Morgan, commander of the first new generation warship, reviewed the technical specifications of her vessel with wonder and pride. The UE's Retribution was not built in the traditional sense, but grown using programmable matter that could adapt its structure in real time based on mission requirements. The ship could reconfigure itself from a sleek exploration vessel to a heavily armed warship in a matter of minutes. The fusion power systems that energized the underwater cities produced more power than entire alien fleets, while the matter phase weaponry developed during the long sleep could penetrate any known form of alien shielding. Defensive systems that bent space-time itself made human ships nearly impossible to target, while quantum manipulation drives allowed them to travel faster than anything currently flying in alien space. Dr. Nathan Cross examined the weapon designs that had been developed according to his original specifications, enhanced by 3 centuries of AI research and testing. The new weapons operated on principles that the aliens would not understand, using exotic matter states and quantum field manipulation to achieve effects that would seem like magic to less advanced civilizations. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Sullivan studied the tactical intelligence that Atlas had gathered on alien military capabilities and found herself impressed by the thoroughness of the preparation. Every major alien fleet had been analyzed down to individual ship specifications, crew, training methods, and tactical doctrines. Humanity would not be caught unprepared, as they had been 3 centuries ago. The awakening process continued throughout the vast underwater complexes as more human defenders returned to consciousness. Engineers, scientists, military officers, and support personnel all emerged from their long sleep to find a world transformed by centuries of automated preparation. The facilities that housed them were cities in their own right, connected by transport, tubes that circled the globe beneath the ocean floor. Atlas reported that the Zephyrian survey ship Mineral Seeker was currently approaching the surface directly above their primary facility. Captain Velinoff and his crew had no idea they were being observed by targeting systems that had been tracking their approach for hours. The alien ship represented the perfect opportunity to announce humanity's return to the galaxy. Captain Lisa Morgan took her position aboard the UES Retribution as the great ship prepared to rise from its hiding place in the ocean depths. The vessel had been waiting in standby mode for decades, its systems maintained by automated processes that kept it ready for immediate deployment. Around her, a crew of awakened humans took their stations with the smooth efficiency of people who had trained for this moment their entire lives. Commander Jake Harrison reviewed the mission parameters one final time as he prepared to lead the first human military action in over 3 centuries. The plan was simple but effective. Capture the alien survey ship, interrogate its crew for current intelligence, and use the vessel to send a message to the Zephyrian Empire that humanity had returned. The time for hiding was over, and the galaxy was about to discover that the humans they remembered as a primitive species had evolved into something far more dangerous and capable. The awakening protocol had succeeded beyond all expectations, and now it was time for the aliens to learn what 3 centuries of focused preparation could accomplish. Captain Velinoff felt the first hint of trouble when every system aboard the Mineral Seeker suddenly went dark without any warning or explanation. Not damaged or destroyed, but simply turned off as if someone had found the master power switch for his entire vessel. Emergency lighting flickered on moments later, casting eerie shadows across the bridge as his crew stared at their dead control panels in complete confusion. Science Officer Klemger tried desperately to restart the main computer systems while Navigator Theises worked frantically at the backup navigation controls. None of their equipment responded to commands, and the ship began drifting helplessly above the Earth's ocean surface. Captain Velinoff had never experienced anything like this in 30 years of space travel, and fear began creeping into his thoughts as he realized how vulnerable they had become. The ocean below them suddenly erupted in a massive display of displaced water as something enormous began rising from the depths. The UES Retribution emerged like a predator surfacing to claim its prey, water cascading off its angular hull in great sheets that caught the sunlight like liquid crystal. The human warship was twice the size of the alien vessel and moved with impossible grace, defying everything the aliens understood about physics and engineering. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the alien ship through her main viewing screen with satisfaction. The vessel hung motionless above them, completely helpless without its electronic systems. The human ship's advanced jamming technology had shut down every piece of alien equipment without causing any permanent damage, leaving the crew alive. But trapped inside their own vessel. Captain Velinoff watched in growing terror as the strange ship positioned itself directly beneath his vessel. The design was unlike anything he had ever seen before, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal and no visible weapons or engines. Strange energy patterns danced across its surface, creating light displays that hurt his eyes to look at directly. A communication signal suddenly filled the bridge of the Mineral Seeker, and Captain Velinoff nearly fell from his command chair when he heard the transmission. The voice spoke in perfect Zephyrian dialect, with pronunciation so flawless that it could have come from his own world. But the words themselves were impossible, because they came from a species that had been extinct for 3 centuries. Captain Lisa Morgan opened the channel with calm authority, her words carrying the weight of humanity's return to the galaxy. She identified herself as a representative of the Human Defense Force and informed the alien crew that their vessel was now under human control. The stunned silence that followed her announcement lasted for nearly a minute before Captain Velenoth found his voice again. The alien captain demanded to know how humans could still exist when his people had confirmed their extinction centuries ago. Captain Lisa Morgan replied with information that made his blood run cold. Humanity had never been extinct, but had chosen to hide and prepare for their eventual return to space. The 3 centuries of apparent absence had been spent developing technology and capabilities far beyond anything the aliens possessed. Commander Jake Harrison materialized on the bridge of the alien ship without any warning, his form solidifying from empty air as if he had stepped through an invisible doorway. The alien crew scrambled backward in panic as more human soldiers appeared around them, all wearing armor that seemed to be made of living metal and carrying weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. The boarding party had used matter phase technology to walk directly through the alien ship's hull, bypassing shields and armor as if they were made of mist. Captain Velenoth stared at the humans in shock, recognizing them from ancient historical records, but seeing them transformed into something far more advanced and dangerous than the primitive species his people remembered. Commander Jake Harrison spoke to the alien crew in their own language, his words polite but carrying an unmistakable threat. He explained that humanity had returned to reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy, and that the aliens, currently occupying human space, would need to make some difficult decisions about their future. The interrogation that followed revealed the full scope of alien expansion into human territory. Colonel Amy Sullivan coordinated with Atlas from the Retribution as data flowed in from the captured alien vessel. The AI processed information from the ship's computers, communication logs, and navigation records to build a complete picture of alien activities in human space. The intelligence confirmed that 12 star systems, 47 colonies, and over 2 billion alien settlers now occupied what had once been humanity's domain. More disturbing was the discovery that the aliens had been using captured human technology as the foundation for their own advancement, claiming credit for innovations they had stolen from abandoned human settlements. Weapons, engines, computers, and medical equipment developed by human scientists were now being marketed throughout the galaxy as alien inventions. Dr. Nathan cross-analyzed samples of alien technology brought back by the boarding party and found them to be crude copies of human designs from centuries ago. While the aliens had been content to use these primitive versions of human science, humanity had continued developing true innovations that made their current capabilities seem like magic in comparison. The crew of the Mineral Seeker found themselves treated as prisoners but not harmed in any way during their captivity aboard the human vessel. They were given comfortable quarters and adequate food, while Commander Jake Harrison and his team extracted every piece of useful information from their ship's databases. Captain Velenoth gradually realized the magnitude of what humanity had accomplished during their long absence from the galaxy. The species that had once seemed primitive and helpless had evolved into something that made his own advanced civilization look like children playing with toys. The humans possessed technology that could shut down alien ships at will, weapons that ignored conventional defenses, and most terrifying of all, the patience to plan and prepare for centuries before revealing themselves. As the interrogation continued, Atlas confirmed that the Mineral Seeker was just one of thousands of alien vessels operating in human space. However, the AI also verified that humanity's technological advantage was even greater than originally projected. The aliens had been using primitive interpretations of human technology for 3 centuries, while humanity developed capabilities that operated on entirely different principles. Commander Jake Harrison made the decision that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. With the alien ship secured, its crew imprisoned, and its data completely downloaded, he authorized the transmission It would announce humanity's return to space. The message went out across all human frequencies, reaching hidden bases and deep space monitoring stations that had waited 3 centuries for this moment. Across Earth's vast oceans, massive structures began rising from depths that had hidden them for 3 centuries. What the aliens had mistaken for natural underwater mountains and geological formations were actually enormous shipyards and fleet bases, camouflaged by advanced technology and dormant since humanity's disappearance from the galaxy. The UES Retribution had been just the beginning of humanity's return, a single ship from a fleet that numbered over 10,000 vessels of every size and capability. Admiral Ben Carter stood on the bridge of the UE Sovereign, a command ship, so large it could have housed an entire alien city within its hull. The massive vessel served as both the flagship of the human defense fleet and a mobile space station capable of supporting extended military operations anywhere in the galaxy. Around him, displays showed the awakening fleet as ship after ship emerged from hidden bases beneath the ocean floor. The organization of the human fleet reflected 3 centuries of careful strategic planning and technological development. Fast attack squadrons consisted of sleek vessels designed for hit-and-run tactics against larger enemy forces. Heavy assault groups featured massive battleships capable of reducing enemy installations to debris in minutes. Stealth reconnaissance units operated ships that could observe alien activities while remaining completely invisible to their primitive sensors. Captain Rick Torres commanded a squadron of 12 hunter-killer vessels designated as Wraith-class ships. These craft represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, capable of traveling faster than anything in alien space and striking targets without warning. Their first mission under Operation Homecoming was to eliminate the Zephyrian military presence at Proxima Station, humanity's first interstellar colony that had been occupied by aliens for over 200 years. The Wraith-class ships moved through space like ghosts, their hulls bending light around them to achieve perfect invisibility, while their quantum drives propelled them at speeds that made them impossible to track or intercept. Captain Rick Torres felt a mixture of excitement and grim satisfaction as his squadron approached the target system, knowing they were about to deliver the first blow in humanity's campaign to reclaim their stolen territory. Proxima Station had been transformed by the aliens into a heavily fortified military base with over 50 warships and thousands of personnel. The Zephyrian commanders who controlled the facility believed it to be impregnable, protected by overlapping defensive shields and early warning systems that could detect approaching threats from light years away. They had no idea that human technology had advanced to the point where their sensors were completely useless. The battle at Proxima Station began and ended so quickly that most of the alien defenders never understood what was happening to them. Captain Rick Torres and his squadron appeared from nowhere, their ships materializing inside the station's defensive perimeter as if they had teleported directly into the heart of the enemy formation. The human weapons that followed were beyond anything the aliens had ever encountered. Matter phase cannons fired streams of exotic particles that passed through alien shields as if they did not exist, while quantum disruptors created localized space-time distortions that tore enemy ships apart at the molecular level. These Zephyrian vessels attempted to return fire, but their weapons could not lock onto targets that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions. Simultaneously, 14 minutes after the attack began, Proxima Station was nothing but expanding clouds of debris and radiation. Every alien ship had been destroyed, every defensive installation reduced to scrap metal, and every communication relay silenced forever. The only survivors were those few aliens who had been inside heavily shielded emergency bunkers when the attack commenced. The desperate warning that reached Zephyrian High Command carried a message that struck terror into the hearts of alien military leaders across the galaxy. The transmission was brief and terrifying in its simplicity. The humans had returned, And they were not the same species that the aliens remembered from 3 centuries ago. They possessed weapons and capabilities that made alien technology look primitive by comparison. Admiral Krickstahl received the emergency communication while reviewing routine patrol reports from across his territory. The news that Proxima Station had been completely destroyed by unknown attackers seemed impossible at first, but the evidence was undeniable. Long-range sensors confirmed that the heavily fortified base no longer existed, replaced by an expanding field of metallic debris that had once been ships and stations. Dr. Sarah Blake led the teams responsible for assessing what remained of human civilization on the recaptured colonies. As Director of Colonial Reintegration, she had the heartbreaking task of documenting what the aliens had done to humanity's former settlements over the past 3 centuries. What her teams discovered hardened human resolve and transformed their mission from simple territorial reclamation to a quest for justice. The former human colony on Proxima had been turned into a museum celebrating alien conquest, with exhibits displaying captured human artifacts as trophies of war. Human homes had been converted into alien recreational facilities, while the original colonists' cemetery had been paved over to build an alien shopping district. Most disturbing of all were the research facilities where captured humans had been studied like laboratory specimens. Similar discoveries on other reclaimed worlds revealed a pattern of systematic desecration that went far beyond simple occupation. The aliens had not merely taken human territory, they had deliberately erased every trace of human culture and achievement, replacing it with monuments to their own supposed superiority. Children's playgrounds had become alien military training grounds, while human schools served as indoctrination centers, teaching alien youth about their victory over the primitive human species. Captain Lisa Morgan coordinated the expanding human offensive from the Bridge of the Retribution as more Wraith squadrons struck targets throughout former human space. Each attack followed the same pattern: swift, devastating, and completely one-sided. Alien military bases that had taken decades to construct were reduced to wreckage in minutes, while their defenders sent increasingly panicked warnings to their superiors. The speed and scale of the human attacks created chaos throughout alien command structures. Military leaders, who had grown comfortable during centuries of peaceful occupation, suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that could strike anywhere without warning. Traditional defensive strategies proved useless against opponents who could appear inside heavily protected installations and disappear just as quickly. Admiral Ben Carter watched the progress of Operation Homecoming with satisfaction as reports flooded in from across the battlefront. The first phase of humanity's return was proceeding exactly according to plan, with alien resistance crumbling faster than even the most optimistic projections had predicted. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's disappearance had not been an end, but a transformation into something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Galactic Council of Races convened an emergency session as panic spread throughout alien space like wildfire. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Centauri Prime, their voices creating a chaos of frightened chatter and desperate demands for action. Admiral Krickstahl stood before the council with grim reports flooding in from across human space, each one more terrifying than the last. Entire alien fleets were disappearing overnight, without sending distress calls or leaving any trace of their destruction. Military bases that had taken decades to build were being reduced to expanding clouds of debris in minutes. Most frightening of all, the humans seemed to be everywhere at once, striking multiple targets simultaneously across vast distances that should have made coordinated attacks impossible. The Zephyrian Empire had lost over half of its military forces in former human space within just 2 weeks of the first attack. Other alien races that had settled in human territory were reporting similar losses as the mysterious human ships appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. No alien weapon had managed to damage even a single human vessel, while their own forces were being systematically destroyed. Admiral Kriegstahl attempted to organize a coordinated defense despite growing evidence that traditional military tactics were useless against this new human threat. His armada of 2,000 ships represented the largest military force ever assembled by the Zephyrian Empire, drawn from every fleet and garrison across their territory. They took position at the Kepler Junction, a strategic choke point that controlled access to the heart of alien space. The alien admiral was confident that superior numbers would overcome whatever technological advantages the humans possessed. 2,000 heavily armed warships positioned in a defensive formation should be able to stop any attacking force, no matter how advanced their weapons might be. A Kepler Junction had natural barriers that would force any enemy to approach through predictable corridors where they could be destroyed by concentrated firepower. Admiral Ben Carter studied the alien defensive position from the bridge of the UES Sovereign and felt nothing but contempt for their primitive strategy. The aliens still fought in terms of conventional space warfare, assuming that human ships would be forced to fight their way through the blockade like any normal military force. They had no understanding of the capabilities that 3 centuries of focused development had produced. The Battle of Kepler Junction became legendary throughout the galaxy, though not for the reasons Admiral Kriegstahl had expected. The human fleet did not attempt to fight through the alien defensive position or engage in the massive space battle that the aliens had prepared for. Instead, Admiral Ben Carter simply ordered his ships to ignore the blockade entirely, using quantum tunneling, technology that operated on principles beyond alien understanding. The human fleet phased past the alien position as if it did not exist. The Zephyrian Armada found itself defending empty space while human forces struck directly at the heart of alien territory, bypassing every defensive line and strategic choke point that had been established over centuries of military planning. Admiral Kriegstahl watched in helpless rage as his sensors showed the human fleet appearing deep inside alien space, having somehow traveled through solid matter and energy barriers without any effect on their ships. The massive defensive formation he had assembled was now completely useless, positioned to defend against an attack that would never come while the real assault proceeded unhindered. Commander Jake Harrison led the assault on Zephyr Prime, the capital world of the alien empire that had occupied human space for 3 centuries. The attack was surgical and devastating, designed to send a clear message about humanity's capabilities while demonstrating their restraint. Military installations across the planet were destroyed with pinpoint accuracy, while civilian areas remained completely untouched. The orbital defense platforms that protected Zephyr Prime were reduced to glowing debris in seconds, their shields and armor offering no protection against human weapons that operated outside normal physics. Ground-based military facilities simply vanished as matter phase bombardment turned their molecular structure into harmless gases that dispersed into the atmosphere. The Zephyrian government building remained undamaged throughout the attack, a deliberate choice that demonstrated humanity's ability to destroy or preserve targets at will. Commander Jake Harrison transmitted a message directly to the alien leadership, his words carrying the weight of absolute military superiority and the promise of total destruction if his demands were not met. The ultimatum was simple and non-negotiable: complete withdrawal from human space within 1 Earth year, or face the total annihilation of alien civilization. Humanity possessed the power to end every alien species in the galaxy, but they chose to offer mercy in exchange for the return of their stolen territory. The choice belonged to the aliens, but the consequences of defiance would be swift and final. The Galactic Council's response was immediate capitulation. Faced with a human species that had evolved far beyond their understanding, possessing technology that rendered alien defenses useless, and displaying tactical capabilities It suggested centuries of careful planning. The various alien races agreed to the human accords without debate or negotiation. Under the treaty's terms, all alien forces would withdraw from human space within the specified time frame. Stolen human technology and artifacts would be returned to their rightful owners. Reparations would be paid to establish memorial funds for the colonies that had been desecrated during the occupation. Most importantly, humanity established itself as the new dominant military power in the galaxy. The agreement included clear warnings that any future aggression against human interests would result in swift and overwhelming retaliation. The aliens had seen what human mercy looked like, but they had also witnessed demonstrations of power that could erase entire civilizations from existence. No alien leader was willing to test humanity's patience. A second time, Dr. Sarah Blake coordinated the massive effort to restore human colonies as alien transports began the long evacuation from human space. The process of rebuilding what had been lost would take years, but humanity now had the technology and resources to create something greater than what had existed before. The colonies that rose from the ashes of alien occupation would be marvels of human engineering and determination. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution as the last alien transport ships departed human space, their hulls loaded with refugees fleeing territory they had occupied for 3 centuries. Earth's children were finally coming home to worlds that had been cleansed of alien presence and prepared for human habitation once again. The galaxy had learned that humanity's disappearance had not been an end, but a transformation. The species that emerged from 3 centuries of hidden development was not the same one that the aliens remembered from their historical records. It was something far more dangerous, far more capable, and far more determined to secure its place among the stars than anyone had imagined possible.